Jared Verse took the NFL by storm in his rookie season, but there's a lot that you missed from his film. We break down today why he became so disruptive for the Rams as a rookie. Ryan, you and I were super excited about Jared Verse going into the 2024 NFL draft, and then after he went to the Rams, we were expecting a great first season. He goes on to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, despite only having 4.5 sacks. And that number does not tell us the full story because he was incredibly disruptive. I think that NFL fans need to realize that his production is only going to get better and better every single year.
I mean, he had a ton of hurries, obviously, as a rookie, and as he gets a little bit more acclimated to the speed of the NFL, that sack production is going to come, right? Like being disruptive leads to those numbers eventually coming for you. But Joe, I really think he was a very overthought prospect coming out of Florida State, which is why he fell to the number 19 overall slot. And some people had him even rated lower from the media perspective. No, he's not the bendiest guy of all time, but what he is first step, extremely explosive, incredibly powerful. This is a power-based rusher that is just starting to understand how good he can be on the NFL level.
76 quarterback pressures as a rookie, 16.8% pressure rate, and he had a 2.8 time to pressure average. His film is exciting to watch. We're going to dig into why he was so dominant. Ryan, a lot of times when I scout edge rushers that overly rely on their bull rush, and Jared Verse pretty much exclusively used a bull rush as his main move. He used it a lot in college. He used it a lot as a rookie. Whenever that happens, I always like to point out, like, hey, this guy's got to develop more moves. It's something that rarely works every single time in the NFL. You need to have counters. You need to have a more developed, diverse plan. But Jared Verse is one of the very few exceptions that can do this every single time he rushes because he is able to generate force in such short areas and so quickly. He walks back on this play, the Seahawks right tackle, just completely into the lap of Geno Smith, and he does it on all the other plays that we're going to go over today. This is uncanny to see this level of strength, and this is why he was such a pressure-consistent guy in 2025.
And he doesn't end up with the sack here, obviously, Joe, right? But he is so disruptive, the ability to make Geno step up into the pocket, into the rush, right? Like he's making everyone around him a ton better off of the initial rush. But the things I really love is, yes, he's powerful. Yes, he has a great bull rush. But there's a subtle shake at the top of this track right here that makes this offensive tackle a little bit lax. He doesn't 100% know what's coming here. Is this a speed rush? Is this an inside counter? Are you hitting the bull rush? He's able to set him up, relax him a little bit, which makes him be able to really understand and how to maintain his leverage on this blocker and able to push him back into the quarterback's lap.
And then I freaking love the execution of this. You know, he's not just trying to overpower him. He gets underneath him. He's not playing too high, which he has that advantage. He's shorter in this matchup, but getting underneath, driving, getting a little bit of extension here with his arms, and then that puts this offensive lineman onto his heels. And as we talked about here, it leads to an eventual sack because Geno has to step up in the pocket. Those 4.5 sacks, they're very deceptive because the amount of times that he created sacks for his teammates is freaking nuts.
Joe, you know what they say, the best players play their best against the best opposition. And you see it here against the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs where he had a tremendous game. Crosses face of Lane Johnson, and poor Mekhi Becton never saw him coming, able to knock him off and eventually finish in the lap of Jalen Hurts. This player, again, from a pure power perspective, is bananas. Yes, Becton didn't necessarily see this coming early on in this rep, but the fact that you have so much force that you're able to cross-face someone like Lane Johnson and knock a 370-plus pound offensive guard like Becton off balance that easily, that shows just the best version of what Jared Verse, brings to the table.
And I just love the pure execution of this stunt that's run here, that you've got a looping teammate coming behind him, and Lane Johnson can't fully commit to Jared Verse because he sees that looper coming behind him. I just love how not only does he catch Mekhi Becton off guard, who, come on, man, you got to be paying attention to this. Mekhi Becton is known as being enormous. And Jared Verse, who's not half his size, but significantly smaller, gets underneath him and smokes his ass. This is one of the bigger guards in the NFL, and he clears his ass. That is what I don't think enough people realize, that like this isn't just your like, oh yeah, trench play, big hit, nice big strong hit. here by Jared Verse. No, he knocks one of the bigger, heavier offensive linemen onto his butt because he's not paying attention. In some instances, a guy like this might be so heavy that they can kind of regain their balance, but there's no balance to be regained. And on top of this isn't just him creating a muck. He gets the sack. He sacks Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts doesn't know what to do. This happens so quickly. This might be one of the most impressive sacks and pressures that I watched out of all of his pressure reps. This was nuts when I found this play when I was doing research for this video.
And you have to feel bad for Lane Johnson, too, because Lane Johnson's trying to pass off, obviously, Jared Verse slanting inside and take the looper that's coming around. I think that's Byron Young. But the fact that that Becton gets smacked, I mean, what's he going to do, Joe? If he stays there, he leaves his overall responsibility. If he decides to get off, which he did, then you give up a sack. You put one of the best offensive tackles of this generation in a really bad spot because you absolutely annihilated Mekhi Becton.
Last bit before we get to the next play, he also throws Jalen Hurts, who's one of the strongest quarterbacks in the NFL, like he's 150 pounds to the ground. Like, doesn't even tackle him, just casually tosses him to the ground. That is nuts, and a lot of the plays that he generated this year were nuts.
I'll see your Mekhi Becton pancake, and I'll raise you a Jordan Mailata here, Joe. Again, we know what's coming. Speed to power converter. He puts his foot in the ground, and there's not even that nuance that I talked about earlier in this show about that little shake at the top of the track. He was just from start to finish, was like, hey, Jordan, I'm coming right down your chest, brother. You better be ready. And Jordan Mailata at 6'8" is a guy that is going to lack the ability to bend at times, being 6'8", 370 pounds. That is not going to be his calling card. So when a guy as powerful as Jared Verse is able to get under his pads like this, with as much momentum as he's able to create, this is what's going to ultimately happen. No shout outs to the tight end, by the way, who tried to put a paw on him, but didn't make any contact. Probably would have been really nice for Jordan Mailata to get that little bit of an early stall of momentum. But the fact that he got that early runway and able to showcase that power, poor Jordan Mailata allowed Jared Verse to get under his pads.
This was another play that when I was going through his pressures, it was like, did he really just do that? One of the heaviest offensive tackles in the NFL, and it's all because of leverage. He's got the power already to go toe-to-toe with a heavy guy like Mailata, but because he understands leverage and hand placement of getting underneath, getting extension, blasting through his pads, this is something that Mailata can't really effectively react to. And the timing of it, of catching him while he's mid-step, is what creates the disruption even further. This is stuff that 4.5 sacks is going to go up as he starts to learn to finish, maybe stay on his feet a little bit better, that he doesn't like overly commit and lunge through him. Good job by him to get up and to go full effort, but Hurts inevitably does escape the pocket. I believe he ends up getting a completion on this play or just ends up picking up some extra yards after he escapes the pocket. He's a good athlete, but Verse does need to kind of learn to, if he's going to go with a bull rush, stay on your feet, clear, and go make a play like he did against Becton. But overall, there is just so much to be impressed with.
And I would also add that we underrate the first step explosiveness that this kid has because, powerful, obviously. But clearly Jordan Mailata was at least threatened somewhat by his outside shoulder here, which is why he slightly overset and allowed him to go right down his chest and barrel down. And obviously it ends with a highlight reel play that Jordan Mailata does not want to be a part of.
Comment below, folks. How many sacks will Jared Verse have in 2025? Hit the like button and subscribe. We'll talk to you later.